I think the IEC is an organization that brings together all the countries in the world that would like to take part in, and therefore we provide a kind of a platform where everyone can bring its technology to the table, and where consensus-built standards are being made, where afterwards those standards can be used by everyone, and that allows, therefore, I would say, manufacturers to sell equipment across the world.
It strikes me at the moment there's a huge challenge for the electrical industry. Everything we do is connected to electricity, but there's so much more pressure being put on electrical components these days. Today I was in a hybrid car on the way to the airport, and one picked me up on the way here. Do you think that the electrical industry, is it ready to confront these challenges, or is it still stuck in a sort of a model that from a previous generation?
Yes, I think we need change. We need change here as well. I think we are still somewhat stuck. There are those that have seen the light, so to speak, that will definitely go forward, but we need to change a lot still.
And it strikes me you're talking about, everyone cooperating, working together. Is it easy to get countries around the world to cooperate on, electric standards and working together on this issue? Because countries are so competitive, they always want to have an edge over someone else. So how do you sell it to them, work together, and this can be for a common good?
I think, yes, it's always difficult to work together, because usually countries have their own borders, and thinking across borders is difficult. But you can see more and more that this is happening. And also more and more because the need to do so becomes more apparent to everyone. So it starts with education and awareness, making sure that countries realize that they need each other.
At the moment, does, staying in Europe, does Europe have the capacity to cope with increased investment in renewable energy because of the variabilities that entails?
Yeah, renewable energies is, I think, the way forward. We all believe in that as a sustainable way. But in order to have renewable energies, they have completely different characteristics. So we need to combine it with storage, because the versatility of whether the wind blows or doesn't blow on a day, whether there's enough sunshine or not, you have to cater with that with storage to make sure that in the end, on average, you have enough to cover the peaks that will be there in the demand side.
And sticking with storage, there's been a lot of talk about huge batteries that have been built in Japan, and there are other ideas. I guess you can pump water up into reservoirs and then use the hydropower from that later. But where are we with storage? Give us an idea of how far down the line we are to having batteries that aren't as big as the Empire State Building actually sort of powering a town.
Yes, I think in the last years there have been quite some remarkable improvements in batteries specifically. Indeed, we need to bring it further and go forward with that. It still has to be done still, and specifically I think in optimizing battery storage next to the renewable energies at the point of generation, making sure that when we have a demand side that peaks, that we can deliver it. But we still need to do that more.
We don't often hear about research, maybe specialists do, but in the general public don't often hear about research into these different types of storage. Are you confident that enough money is being put into investing in these different types of battery storage? Because conversely, if you talk about CCS, carbon capture, sequestration, billions of pounds is being poured into that, complementing an existing form of power generation. So are you confident that governments are putting enough money into storage?
I think actually no. There could be more money put into, specifically into the research, into the development of the next generations, because we need it at a scale that is so steep. We need this very steep, say, penetration rate of putting systems into the marketplace, and it is not just. So on one hand, governments has to put in that. On the other hand, the business has to invest in that as well. So it takes all market parties actually to play together in a more or less, I would say, synchronized way.
And when we look to developing parts of the world which are building their building their grids. We talked about smart grids and we've talked about Europe. But talk to us a bit about China and India, both countries committed to giving the people in there who live there a reliable, sustainable supply of electricity. Are you confident that the grids they are building are going to be flexible enough to cope with renewable energy, or are they stuck in the same trap that I guess many countries are, where you're building huge centralised power stations and from that a network, sort of arteries of electricity to different towns and villages?
Yes, I think that on one hand they have the dilemma, they have to build now. And building now means that you have to do it with the components that are available now. And not all the components for a smart grid are already available. On the other hand, they are understanding that the demands in the nearer future will simply be much more versatile, and they need that smart grid in the end. So on one hand, they have the drawback that they have to invest now. On the other hand, they know that they actually should plan the topologies in such a way that it can be turned into a smart grid soon.
Going back to households, you mentioned a bit earlier on about sort of smart grids and the way that sort of actual houses can become their own mini power stations. How do you see that evolving? Do you think it looks great on paper and it looks great when you see models and diagrams? Do you think there's enough willpower from governments, from I guess home builders, to actually design houses, which are their own mini power station?
Yes, I think, well, let's put it this way. Changing infrastructure takes time. And usually it takes more time than you think of and than you plan. So it will take time. On the other hand, the technology is there and going forward definitely, to allow it. The concepts are there, but making it all work is a huge work. That means that it will come. I don't think that currently all the parties in the market or in the value chain, as you say, from designers of houses all the way down to those who put and install it and maintain it and make sure it is safe and it cannot be hacked by someone who has, say, bad intentions. Mm-hmm. That isn't all there yet, and it takes time. But if we don't work on it, and if we don't now define the standards for it, and if we don't now define the concepts and the ground rules, and allow the governments to think about it now, then it won't happen. And then we have a bigger problem.